Welcome to the People's Select Committee. Today, the committee is hearing from our youth workforce. This committee is made up of former members from across the political spectrum. We have come together to ensure voices are heard on matters relating to the Equal Pay Amendment Bill 2025 that was passed under urgency without public consultation. We are here to do what the government did not, invite public submissions to allow open and transparent scrutiny. By hearing directly from those affected, alongside the wider public, we aim to consider the regulatory, economic, and social impacts of the bill with fairness and integrity. On that note, as this is the People's Select Committee, the first of its kind, we would like to stress that we operate under the ordinary laws and jurisdiction of the country, and no special privileges are accorded to ourselves or submitters. In that vein, we ask that comments which may be defamatory of any individual be refrained, and we will alert submitters to comments that may stray from this boundary. The committee would like to take a moment to acknowledge the women, the champions, in whose footsteps we follow, irrespective of their position, role, contribution, or ethnicity, who have advanced women's rights, women's work, and pay equity. They are the sheroes of this kaupapa, and they are us, and we are them. I'd like to introduce members of the People's Select Committee who are present here for our youth hui this afternoon. Dame Marion Waring, Belinda Vernon, Lynn Pillay, Honourable Steve Chadwick, Honourable Manaya Mahuta, and I am Ria Bond, your chair for today. On that note, we'd like to thank all of our submitters for the time you've taken to share your insights and expertise. Please take your submission as read and do not feel like you need to speak to all of your points, as we may have numerous answers to give you, numerous questions, I'm sorry. I want you to know that I understand that you may be nervous presenting to the People's Select Committee today, but we'd like to reassure you all that we're here to hear your voices and that you are actually our current and future champions, and we hope that you'll continue on with this legacy. That being said, I'd like to invite Nanaya or Karakia.
Tēnā tātou, whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga. Kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai e hi aki ana. Te atākura he tio, he huka, he hauhunga, ti hei mauri ora.
Kia ora. With that being said, I'd like to now invite our first submitters from the PSA Youth.
Kia ora. Tihei Moriora e te taha o tōku mama, ko kupu ai te monga, ko mata au te awa, ko takitimu te waka, ko katihui rapa te hapu no manahera kia aho, ke tamaki makauro aho e noho ana, he kaimahi aho mo te pukinga here tikanga mahi, ko Susanna tōku ingoa, no rewa, tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora, my name is Susanna Rendell. I am an organizer at the PSA Te Pukenga Here Tikanga Mahi. And my role is I look after our youth network. So I look after our 26,500 plus members in the youth network that fall under the ages of 35 and under. I'm joined by one of our conveners as well today, who I will let introduce themselves, and then they'll speak to some of their shared experiences.
That's perfect. Thank you, Savannah. I just want you to know that we've extended our timing today for all of our youth submitters, so you have 15 minutes to for your oral submission, and we may have questions after
cool.
for today. And is it okay that we email those to you?
Email, yeah, no, that's awesome. We can take emailed questions, yeah.
Perfect.
Sweet.
Take it away.
All right, over to you, Risha.
Yeah. Hi, Kia ora. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. See. Good afternoon. My name is Richard John, and I'm the PSA Youth Network's Auckland Regional Convener. I work as a social worker for the Ministry of Children, Rangatamriki. Yes, and thank you for the invite where we could share our personal experiences on the submission that we had made. Yes, so how are we planning to go? Like I said, can I start saying, or yeah, okay. Yes, so If I start on my like based on our submission, what we as care workforce people have experienced is that our work has been undervalued, especially social work. Uh, from where I can talk on my personal experience, has been one of the critical areas, especially child safety, family well-being, and like community health sectors that we work in. Um, why I say it's undervalued is based on the recognition it has in the society, as well as the high responsibility that we carry. We're dealing with vulnerable children and whanos, making life-changing decisions for them, um, with them, and carrying the emotional stress, working irregular hours, yet the pay often doesn't reflect the weight and of the responsibility that we carry.
Mm.
Um, this profession is highly female dominated workforce, which means it is particularly vulnerable to historic undervaluation from ages. Um, the pay equity conversation is directly about correcting these injustices. Also, bringing a note to the burnout and retention. So, low pay and limited progression opportunities, I would say, are pay is limited. Future progression opportunities are very limited when we talk personally from a youth's perspective. It takes us ages to grow. It takes us um, lot of efforts, lot of years of hard work to grow into the leadership positions of any organizations. um, that weakens like staff retention. Based on my personal experience as a migrant worker, I've been in New Zealand for last 2.5 years. It's going to be 3 years. I have really good work experience back from India, where I come from. I've worked in anti-human trafficking areas where we used to rescue child labor, bonded labor, sex trafficking victims. Coming from a developing country, worked in this sector for around 8+ years. But when I came to New Zealand, I was still considered as a fresh graduate, because all that um, the recruiters wanted was New Zealand experience. Starting my pay from the very basic starting range. That in itself was a very big injustice. It was a big shock for me, because I've worked in good position, good area but when I came here, I started as a fresh graduate. So when I talk to my colleagues, especially in this workforce settings, and specifically talking about from youths, when I talk to them, what they usually express is um, they are just here for a few years. And even people who have left, whom I've met, they always say they've just been here for few years and then they move out, because what they think is their hard work is not uh, equally valued. The amount of stress that each individual carries, especially youths, and based on the when they compare it with the pay that they get, it's not at all satisfactory. So they rather prefer going into a sector that is paying them well, and less stress. So it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge, and it affects our communities as well, because social workers start working with each families, they build a good rapport, they build a bond, and as soon as, because the organization is not able to retain their staffs, they have, like, the families are getting affected because they have to start again the whole process with another new social worker or support worker that they're working with. So yeah, as I said, like for migrants like me, youths who are working in this area, it's challenging. So the message from PSAY in our submission is pretty much clear. So we've just thought of talking about something else apart from that. Pay equity must remain an open, ongoing process. Closing the doors on claims or weakening review processes and limiting good faith bargaining contradicts even to the Treaty of Waitangi, and as well as contradicting to the treaty's principles of partnership and fairness, and
Speaking,
also, yeah, and
you go.
also disproportionately harming young migrant, Maori, Pacific women workers, I would say. So yeah.
Speaking as well to the youth perspective, I think, with my job being to look after the future youth members in our union, the real risk that we're seeing is to the future of all the professions that we cover that are female dominated and female led. We have a large number of care and support workers, we have our social workers, and we have, so many of our membership with the PSA is, oh, sorry, was there a question or
No,
shall
no,
I?
sorry, not now.
No, you're all good. You're all good. Sorry. But yeah, so much of our membership in the PSA is female dominated. And so there's a real concern for the future of female dominated professions within New Zealand. We're seeing a trend of our young members and young people in New Zealand leaving New Zealand to go and work overseas where they can do the same job for better conditions. Even places where pay equity has already been progressed, we're seeing that because there's now no commitment to uphold that, in 10 years' time, the position that they're going to be in as in a woman-dominated workplace is going to be so far behind those that are in male-dominated fields that it's untenable to live. We know that young Kiwis aren't buying as many houses because they can't afford it. I have, personally talked to huge amounts of members who are struggling with the prospect of they're ready to have children and they aren't having children because of the fact that they can't afford to raise a kid. Or, I look at my mum and she stayed out of work until I went to school and my sister went to school, but I know that going forward that's not my future because there's no pay that can support those in this country at the moment. And so other places in the world are looking more attractive for our young people. And I think that leaves a huge risk as to what happens when the people that are staying behind retire and those jobs have to be filled by someone, and we haven't got trained people left in New Zealand to do those jobs because we're not making it a country where we've got conditions that they want to stick around for. Was that a question?
Thanks, Savannah. We do have questions, and I think if you've finished with your oral submission in its entirety, we can take questions from Steve.
Yeah, I think we'd.
Thank you, and thank you both for coming together. Quite a different perspective you both give. Rio, thank you for your work in amongst our people too. Do you know what the churn is of people leaving like yourself? Like most workplaces know their turnover statistics. Do you know that percentage of people that in your membership? Because it's a massive membership, Susanna.
Yeah.
I don't have the stats off the top of my head, but if that's one of the questions that we're happy to email, I'm sure I can get those from our membership system. I do know that when I took over the youth networks, I've been working with the youth network specifically for about 18 months now. And when I took that over, we had close to 28,000 young members, and we're now sitting at the 26,500, which isn't that much of a drop. but it is still quite significant in terms of, including the growth of people coming into the, workforce as well. So, but yeah, I can get more specifics on different things as well, please.
That would be great. Thank you so much. We'll make sure that we get that question to you to enable you to answer, because we'd be quite interested in those stats as well.
100%.
Awesome. Next question is for Lynn.
Thank you so much, both of you. Reggio, I'm just so impressed with your background in terms of the work that you've done. And also, I saw the huge number of members that you had, Susanna. And my question is that, let's just say the Ag Party in particular tend to discount quite often the importance of the challenging of these of this bill, and use the rhetoric that it's the unions, it's just the unions, not the members. And when I look at young workers alone at 26,500 that you represent, I just wonder if you could make some. It's not a view I hold, but if you could make some comment on that, please.
So in response to like the rhetoric that, it's just the unions pushing these things. And I'm like, well, that's one thing to say it, but it's not the unions that are out in the communities not being able to afford housing, right? It's, it's our members that are getting paid below the living wage or, right on minimum wage. And they're the people that are having to make those decisions around, do I don't get a chance to own my house, but when am I going to put my money in? Like, am I going to pay for power this week or am I going to buy food? Because that's the reality that some people in our membership are facing at the moment with the cost of living crisis combined with the lack of, pay equity, having been in place. And so I think that, that rhetoric of that it's just the unions, because it's really not, it's, any worker in the workforce that is on low pay or that is undervalued is struggling at the moment. And I think it's just that unions are a voice post for that people find accessible. And, it can be really hard. I think young Kiwis, we've all heard of like tall poppy syndrome as well. It can be really hard to stick out your head and be the person saying these things. And so that's what I like to do as a mouthpiece for the union, is to be able to speak for those people. But it's definitely the views that are coming from people in workforce in the public service, regardless of if they're a union member or not.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your submission. We have heard what you've said to us today. We will come back with one of the questions that asked by Steve, and just want you to know that we're really quite humbled by your participation, and we look forward to having further conversations when you respond back with your answers. So thank you so much. And Raijo, with your personal experience, I really value the input that you've given us as well today. I think it's important that when we do have young migrant workers coming into our workforce, that their needs are also represented and that there's a clear pathway forward that isn't about burdening you because of your experience in your career. So thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Our next submitters are from the Young Workers Resource Centre, and we have Caitlin and Nicola presenting with us today. So they'll join us in a little second. Good afternoon. How are you both today?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. We're looking forward to hearing your submission. Like other submitters today, you've got 15 minutes, and we're hoping that in that time frame, you'll leave some time for us to ask you some questions. And if you don't have some of the answers to the questions we asked, that's okay, Katie Pie. We will send you that in an email, and you can respond back accordingly when you have the time. So thank you for submitting, and we look forward to hearing your oral submission.
Oh, thank you. Kia ora koutou, kua hui mai nei. E mihi ana au ki ngā manawa whenua. Ko tānau tuku iwi kuna tahinga tuku hapu no kirikiri roa hau. Ko Nicola Paul tēnei, he kai whakaako ia, and he kai whakaaere Kai whakahaere au mō te whare kaimahi rangatahi ko Caitlin Wilson aho. So my name is Caitlin. I'm the General Manager here at Young Workers Resource Centre, and this is Nicola Paul, who is our Education Coordinator. So at Young Workers Resource Centre, we aim to empower young people through the knowledge of their basic employment rights and healthy employment relationships to try and reduce exploitation of young workers in the workforce. So our services include running workshops, primarily through secondary schools, but also at community groups and vocational education providers. And we outline basic employment rights and provide some tools to help navigate healthy employment relationships and sort of avoid things like conflict, etc. In addition to our education, we also have a help centre where young workers can reach out for guidance on their rights and get support navigating employment issues that they're facing. So we get probably about 1,500 to 2,000 young people per year that we are face-to-face with. So I'd like to start the submission by highlighting the Employment Relations Act, which recognises the object of the Act being to build productive employment relationships, and in particular, acknowledging and addressing the inherent inequality of power in employment relationships and promoting collective bargaining. So the Act itself and its purpose highlights the importance of having pay equity claims. And however, we're here to specifically speak to the effects on young workers. We acknowledge that the pay equity claims focus on inequity in women's wages. However, this issue affects all workers that are within women-dominated industries. So we're here to speak to the challenges that face young workers in these industries as a result of these changes. So we already know that young workers are disadvantaged entering the workforce. They're primarily starting in low-paying, precarious work. We get a lot of SMEs, so small to medium business owners, or casual workers come through us. And then if you add that young workers who are women or non-European workers, and they're even more likely to be disproportionately disadvantaged when it comes to wages. So there have been several comments from politicians throughout these employment changes that have been introduced, suggesting that they've come from a very privileged background. They have very little actual knowledge of what it's like for what the realities are for young people trying to engage in the workforce today. So, for example, Erica Stanford's comment about teachers earning 140K. And so in addition to this, they greatly underestimate where in society rangatahi meant to have picked up this knowledge and the soft skills and experience of how to negotiate as an individual. So David Seymour said in the changes to the ECE pay schemes meant that new teachers can start a pay step negotiated with their employer like most workers in the economy, instead of one stipulated by the pay parity regime. But where do they learn the skills? And what's to stop one greedy employer undermining the other employers that want to pay their staff better? We talked to rangatahi about minimum wages in our workshop, the adult, the starting out wage, and the training wages. And only a handful of students are actually able to answer the question correctly of what is the current minimum wage. If they're entering the workforce without the knowledge of something as basic as the amount they should be getting paid, then where does the government expect them to learn the skills and knowledge they require to negotiate their individual wages and conditions? A couple of statistics from the MBIE, young workers in New Zealand. So the snapshot of young workers in New Zealand from the 2024 Employment Monitor. So 1 in 4 young workers state they don't understand their employment rights that well. 29 reported feeling unappreciated at work, which is 29 reported feeling appreciated at work. And that's versus 40% of which is what the average New Zealander reports as feeling appreciated. 33% reported concerns of backlash for them and their families if they spoke out about their employer, which is compared to the 22% for the average worker. And 49% expressed at least one concern about their employment. And guess what? The most prevalent employment skill theme was pay concerns, right? So collective action is also important to be able to address that inherent inequality of power. And it's vital for our young people to be able to ensure that their working conditions that will affect them are being addressed. You don't know what you don't know until you know it. And so a lot of these young people are going into a workplace, they don't know what terms and conditions they need to be aware of. They don't know what how it's going to affect them in the long run until they actually hit that wall. And so collective bargaining and being able to work with older employees that know what's what in the industry is really important. Just for some background as well, we spoke to 2 of the young women that have come through our help centre requiring support with employment issues, and we asked them specifically around negotiating their conditions for the pay equity campaign that's currently underway, and we just wanted to share a couple of their thoughts on what they said is negotiating as a young worker. So H, for privacy reasons, was simply trying to get the changes in her employment agreement so that it was aligned with the legislation. She explained, I had a bit of an issue with my contract. What I thought was going to be really easy and straightforward ended up being quite messy. We got there in the end, but I still wouldn't say we're on good terms. We don't really talk to each other or anything. And my boss, we just ignore each other for the most part. And when we asked further if her employer and her weren't on good terms as a result of that contract negotiation, she replied with, oh, definitely, yeah. I was ready to give up. I was so over it. It was just too hard. I was kind of thinking it's got to be easier just to leave at this point, so start somewhere else. Yeah, it really wore on me. I don't know if I'd recommend it to someone else. Like, it's a good thing that I did, but it hasn't left me feeling good about myself or good about working there. The second worker, Kay, had her wage significantly dropped by about $3 an hour when new owners took over. She attempted to email the new employer to request to talk about her pay difference and was met with a one-word response, no. And she commented around what it was like to negotiate. She said, it's very scary to try and pretty much talk about your contract at all with them because you're just worried. Either before you sign the contract, you're worried that they're going to rescind the offer, and after, you're worried that they're just not going to give you any hours because you keep bringing up issues and you're a problem and other staff don't say anything, you know? So there's already immense pressure coming from employers requiring young people to be work ready from day dot. And now they also want them to be able to pull the skills of negotiation from the air when they already have no power and they're already told you're just lucky to have a job. They're also, employers are very unlikely to actually negotiate with young workers, right? So overall, the repeal of the Employment Equal Pay Bill took women's rights back decades and has added even more barriers for young workers at a time where youth unemployment is at an all-time high. And so from YWRC, we reject the repealing of the Equal Pay Bill. Yeah, we are happy to take any questions.
Gosh, your submission there just actually hit areas of my heart from having experienced similar situations when I was moving into the workforce. So I can absolutely appreciate the profound mahi that you do enable to help our youth through that workplace journey. Your stats that you talked about, you said 33% of your members backlash from employers compared to, I think it was 22%
for an average worker.
For an average worker. How do you assimilate that? I mean, when I heard you say those stats, I kind of sat here and thought, how does that make you feel about your contribution or youth contribution to this workforce when you look at that particular stat?
I mean, it is very frustrating from our perspective because we do have to do what's best for the young workers, particularly when they come through to us with employment issues. And sometimes that does require telling them that they're better off just to leave. They're better off to find other employment and leave the employer because of the mental health sort of ramifications of trying to argue something. It's so incredibly difficult to challenge employers already with the current Employment Legislation Act and the way that it's all set up. And so, yeah, just the erosion of those rights is, by the current government is just so incredibly frustrating.
We can hear it, definitely. I'd like to welcome Steve and then Dame Marilyn for questions.
Yes, just a very quick question. Your organisation's been going for a long time, and I see it's a not-for-profit, but how do you actually manage to both resource yourself and get the information that you exist out to young people?
with a lot of hard work. So we've been around for 30 years. Our help centre's only just started. It started December 2020, so we've only had a help centre for the last 5 years. We're mainly philanthropic funded. So majority of our funding comes through grants, which is a big part of my job. We've got a couple of ongoing donors. We do charge for our education workshops. But majority of it is just relying on philanthropic funding.
And thanks for the work you do.
Thank you.
Dame Marilyn?
Kia ora, and thank you very much for your submission. In it, you're endorsing what some of the recommendations by the YWCA, and you talk about clear reporting and accountability in ending the gender pay gap. Now, for young people, what does that look like?
So I guess a lot of the issues we have around pay equity is clarity in terms of like ensuring that employers are open about what wages are being provided. One of the great things about the changes or the pay equity claims was that there is provided a minimum standard, right, for what young people entering that workforce should be on. Whereas when you remove that sort of stuff, you get we have very little data that we can actually go back to and look at and say, this is what is happening for our young people, because it's not reported anywhere, it's not required to be collected anywhere. And so anecdotally, we know that this is an issue, but being able to find the stats and data to back us up when we say that this is an issue is really difficult. So I guess for us, it would look like being able to actually have databases where we can access that information. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, well, I'd like to say thank you both for, as I said earlier, coming along today to give us your voices that we can hear quite clearly the issues that you've found inside of the Pay Equity Amendment Bill and how that affects the organisation that you have run very successfully for over decades over in a whole. So thank you very much. If we have any other questions after that the panellists may ask, is it okay to email those to you?
Yes, that's fine.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you.
Thank
For your
you.
time.
Bye-bye.
Our next submitter is Lily Campbell, and Lily will join us shortly. While we wait for Lily to join us, the panel will take a short break of about 4 minutes. We'll see you when you're back. hearing from our youth submitters, and we've had a great time with our previous submitters, and now we look forward to our next submitter, which is Savannah Sutherland. Before Savannah gets to speak, if we have any other submitters that are waiting in the backstage room, please do, when prompted, press accept. That would be wonderful. Savannah will join us with Shreya and Healy very shortly. Kia ora, Shreya. I can see that you've joined us and that your microphone is on mute.
Yes, hello. I've joined with Silvana because we're together in an organization called Worth the Wage NZ. So I'd like to present with her what we would like to say. Is that all right?
Yep, absolutely. Kia ora, Savannah.
Hello.
Kia ora, Shreya. We look forward to hearing your oral submission today. You have 15 minutes to deliver your keynotes from your submission, and there will be some questions afterwards. So take it away.
Okay. So we're a group of Year 13s from One Tree Hill College. Our group is called Worth the Wage NZ. We're working to spread awareness and make a change in the pay equity issues in New Zealand. We formed our group initially as a part of a sociology course to undertake a social action. We chose this action because we care about the issue of pay equity a lot, and it will definitely affect us in the future. We also have teachers who have been affected by this issue.
Yeah, so things we have done so far is we have partnered with multiple organizations. We've helped to raise awareness via social media by sharing articles and informative posts. We helped to get lots of signatures for the PBTA petition that went to Parliament, and we emailed Nicola Willis, excuse me, to which Brooke Van Velden replied, and we have interviewed teachers who have experienced the pay equity issue firsthand, and we have gathered evidence to expand our knowledge of the issue.
So for me personally, the pay equity issue will affect me in the future if it continues, because I plan to be a primary school teacher. But teaching is one of the main professions impacted by pay inequity, which concerns me as a student because I'm aiming to work in the education industry. Another member of our group who's not here today also feels strongly about the issue, as her mother works in early childcare and faces the same challenges.
So for me, a lot of my teachers are affected by this issue, and this indirectly affects me. And I would like to see, because it affects young people when our teachers are also being affected, because they might want to move to different areas for better pay and stuff. And like the teaching is also affected from this. Yeah. So what we would like to see in the future is we would like to see a proper hearing, one that is not made under urgency. We think that it is undemocratic to put this issue under urgency, as it diminishes the purpose of under urgency protocols. So some short-term effects we would like to see more conversation in Parliament regarding this issue. We would also like all voices to be taken into account. So this includes young people, teachers, and those who are directly and indirectly affected by the issue. We hope that in the long term, the changes made to the pay equity will be reversed.
We've interviewed multiple teachers to get their perspectives and first-hand stories on the pay equity issue. Something our teacher said that stood out to us was just that at a time when we've kind of locked in a lot of data over the years, we've made lots of changes in terms of equity for people. It's a shame that it feels like we're almost going backwards on an issue that we should continue to evolve and address. To be evolving and addressing issues that have been around for a long time.
Another quote that we have received from another teacher we interviewed is that they say that because if you don't pay them properly, then they will probably leave for other countries. And we find that we do not pay people appropriately. This could be men, woman, any sex. We were facing sex-based discrimination, race-based discrimination, any discrimination. You will find that you have very good members of the profession leave because it just makes you feel undervalued. You probably may not even potentially put in as much effort into the job because you're not being paid appropriately. And that impacts. It all knocks on, or you might just leave the profession because you think, well, I'm not being paid, and we need strong women in all of our industries as well.
And the last quote we have is, at the very least, I would just like the government to give us the avenue to raise our concerns. There was a great progress being made on the pay equity claims, and just to take that away without really any explanation is very undemocratic, in my opinion.
So our key takeaway is that we work the Wage NZ, our organization from Montreal College, would like the pay equity issue to be addressed properly. This issue affects the future of young people in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and is currently affecting more than half of the population of workers in female-dominated industries, such as education, social work, etc. We as young people are worried about our futures in New Zealand, as this directly undermines the type of field we want to work in, as the pay equity claim does not regard the effort or acknowledge the systematic barriers due to sex discrimination. Regards, Worth the Wage NZ.
Oops.
Thank you both for your very in-depth submission from your We Worth the Wage New Zealand organisation. We've got some questions from our panellists. I'd like to invite Dame Marilyn Warren first, then Steve and Belinda.
Kia ora, and thank you very much for your submission. My question's in two parts. So, for your investigation, what media or information sources have you been using to inform yourself about the pay equity issue? And what social media do you yourselves use to generate the messages from the information that you've been finding out?
Okay, yeah. So from the organizations we partnered with, such as Pay Gap Insights, with the YWCA, Gender and Work Community, and NZCDU, we have asked them for factual information or like statistics that we could use to promote the issue, to promote the issues, because there's been a lot of misinformation surrounding it. And then we use social media such as Instagram to try and raise awareness to youth demographics so they understand more on the issue, and we're also learning throughout it as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Steve?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for a fabulous submission. And also Worth the Wage New Zealand campaign. Well done, you young activists. I think it's great for us to know that you're busy in this area. You did mention that you had written to Minister Van Velden. Did you get a reply, and did you ask to meet? Because you live in Auckland, and that might be a good way in. They love meeting young people.
Yeah, we did get a reply, but we haven't asked to meet her. I think we were a bit unsure of her reply and kind of how to approach it. Yeah, we will take into consideration meeting with her.
Yeah. Many of us were ministers, and when young people approached us, we love to hear their view. And I think you've got a very good set of messages to actually give. Well done.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Belinda, then Nanaya.
Right. Well, first of all, I want to say congratulations too, because not only was I a former board member of One Tree Hill College, but I was also the local MP. So I'm very proud of you to see you standing up and doing the mahi that you are doing. Well done, all of you. You mentioned that you initially did this as part of a sociology project. I was interested to know whether you had picked this topic before the changes to the pay equity legislation or whether it was subsequent to the changes. So perhaps that question first. Did you do it before the changes or did the changes prompt the project?
We did it subsequently. So as soon as we found out about it, our group was very passionate on this issue because we think it would affect us on the future, and we already see it affecting our teachers currently. So it was like I saw it exactly when watching the news, and I was like, I have to tell my group because I feel like we'll all be really keen on this issue. So yeah.
Yeah, good. So also, I want to support the suggestion of inviting a sit down with the minister, and perhaps invite her to the school. I mean, that they're always keen to visit schools, and you could then bring it without hijacking it or whatever the word is, you could use that as a platform. But the other thing that I wanted to question was, have you, when you're looking at this issue, have you tried to look at it from the government's perspective? Have you looked at the arguments that they have put and tried to test those? Or are you purely looking at it through the lens of how it affects you and other people? Are you looking at just from one lens, or are you looking at from the government's perspective as well?
I think currently we've been looking at it through just our lens as students and how it will affect us. We haven't looked into like what the government kind of sees, but we have been like emailing people like in the government and getting like their perspective on it, but mainly we're focusing on like our perspective.
Okay. I think sometimes it's quite handy to look at it from from where they're coming from, and then looking at how to refute those issues as well. But you're probably doing that indirectly anyway. So well done. As I say, very proud of you.
Thank you.
Nanai, then we've got Joe and Lynn.
Thank you for your submission. I've got a very simple question, and it is the way that you're discussing pay equity issues amongst your peers and within your school community. Has it changed the way in which you're thinking about future career choices? So, for example, Silvana, you said that you wanted to be a teacher. Does this issue make you seriously reconsider a career choice going forward?
Yes, it definitely has. I feel like I've always had the passion for teaching, but I wasn't able to decide that I wanted to be a teacher because I was unsure about the whole pay equity issue. For a long time, it was something I was like kind of considering and I wasn't sure about. But yeah, I think it is something, even when I tell other people, they also like the first thing they say is like, oh, you're not going to be paid equally. So yeah, that definitely impacts my decision to be a primary school teacher.
Thank you.
Kia ora, Savannah and Shreya. My question is around your use of social media to communicate the information that you've been collecting and to see what people are thinking out there. Have you had any negative feedback from that, or has it been really good?
So most of our followers on social media, I think they're also very into the issue and they care about social justice and things like that. We haven't had negative feedback on it yet, but actually a lot of support and a lot of getting involved. Like we've been sending out petitions and people have been signing it, and then people check our posts and like they read the information or articles we sent out. So it's just been very supportive community, which we really appreciate. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Lynn.
Thank you both of you for amazing submission, and we got your supplementary submission. So we're very, very lucky to have you being so active, but also to be participation in the workforce in the future. We're very lucky to have such bright, amazing young people, and we really appreciate it. Nanaya Mahuta actually pinched my question, not intentionally, but are you a co-ed college?
Yes, we are.
So I'm quite interested to, like, your group is amazing, but are any of the boys showing much interest in this? Are they part of the discussion? I know it's not their traditional careers that are affected directly, but are they aware of it?
I think we've had kind of more of a mixed response from the boys. Some of them are supportive of it, but I would say the girls are definitely a lot more supportive of it. Some guys kind of, I'd say, maybe don't really acknowledge it as much as the girls do. But I think they all are supportive of it.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
That's wonderful. I think I can say on behalf of the People Select Committee today, listening to your presentation and your oral submission has been very humbling. You've given us a real life effect, or what I'd say is a butterfly effect. Savannah, you said that you wanted to enter into the teaching sector, and this puts a big pause on what this holds for your future. I'd like to say, don't let that dissuade you. It's not over yet. We plan to rattle up the government and be heard about what and how we're scrutinised, and many voices that just never were given the chance when this bill went under scrutiny. So please don't give up on your role models to make sure that we're securing up the future for this current and next generation, because like you, there are many champions out there that are leading the way as well. So take that as a good message from our hearts that it's not over yet. So thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next submitter is Ripika Waro, and who will be joining us very shortly. I can see that they're in the room at the moment, and once they're available to start, Ripika, your microphone's on mute. There we go. Welcome to our Select Committee. We're very excited to have your submission before us today. You have 15 minutes to talk to your submission.
Sorry, I can't hear. Okay, I got it.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay, thank you.
I was just saying, welcome to our Select Committee this afternoon. Today is all about the youth and your voices that we're hearing. There's been some pretty huge submissions provided to us, and it's made a really great session of hearing from our youth and how this pay equity will affect or could affect your future. So you have 15 minutes. Please leave some time for members to ask you questions, and if we don't ask you questions or we run out of time, is it okay that we email those questions to you and you can in your own time respond back to those?
Yes, of course.
Perfect. And if you see some little hands, emojis popping up, that's okay. We'll wait till you finish your oral submission and address the questions at that time.
Okay.
So the floor is yours, and we welcome your oral submission.
Thank you. Kia ora. I'm actually Charisma, and Ripika will be taking my space afterwards.
Okay.
We had to switch. But
no problem.
Yes, my name's Charisma. Nice to meet you all. Mine is about being a musician and how it connects to gender roles and pay equity. So being a musician is something I'm very passionate about. I love expressing myself through music and seeing how it brings people together. But as I've learned more about the music industry, I've started to notice how gender roles and equity are a big deal. These issues don't just affect music, they show up in heaps of other jobs across Aotearoa and the rest of the world too. In music, there are still strong ideas about what men and women are expected to do. For example, most famous producers and conductors are men, even though there are many talented women who are just as skilled. Female musicians are often judged more on how they look rather than how they perform. It can be harder for them to get the same recognition. On the other hand, if a man teaches at primary school or sings in a choir, people often think it's impressive just because it's a job usually done by women. That doesn't seem fair at all. These same patterns happen in other industries too. Jobs that are male-dominated, like construction, engineering, or tech, usually have higher pay, but female-dominated jobs like teaching, nursing, and early childhood education are often paid less. That doesn't mean those jobs are easier or less important. In fact, some of these are really challenging. They require a lot of care, energy, and skill. The problem is that society hasn't always valued women's work properly, and we're still seeing the effects of that today. Pay equity is not just about men and women getting the same pay for the same job. It also means that jobs are mostly done by women. That jobs that are mostly done by women should be paid fairly based on the work they involve. Being a musician helps me see this clearly. It's frustrating when people act like men are naturally better producers or composers just because that's what we've been shown. All jobs should be valued for the skills and effort they take, not who is doing them. In the end, being a musician has always made me more aware of how gender roles are unfair. I think everyone deserves to be treated fairly and paid properly for the work they do. If we want a fairer future, we have to challenge old stereotypes and make sure every job is respected. No one should be told their work matters less just because of their gender. Thank you.
Fantastic. You know, some of the best speakers and musicians in this world, you know, they will make little mistakes when they're talking, and I'm a perfect example of doing that today. So please don't let that make you feel that we're focused on that. We're focused on your overall story. And we do have some members that'd like to ask you a question. Steve.
Kia ora, Charisma, and thanks so much for a submission. The music industry, that's going to be a challenge for you. How did you hear about pay equity?
Through my social studies class.
Well done, and well done to the teacher for actually raising the issue. And where are you going to take it? Other than submitting to us, what else have you done in your class around pay equity?
Discussion in our class regularly, I'd say.
Has it changed your mind about going into a musical career?
No.
Good.
Just as a supplementary to what Steve's question is, I want to pick up more on, has this pay equity changed your mind as to following in your pathway in a musical career? You mentioned in your submission about the conductors, male versus female. And from your collective passion for your sector, how often have you felt that you've seen the difference in the role between male and female within the music industry, especially with like the conductors or composers?
I've personally played in an orchestra or a choir, a couple choirs here and there, all being women. And I think that's my personal connection to it all. I feel like that's where most of my feelings come from in this, because I believe they're all such strong women for what they do, and they're amazing at what they do. But in competitions we enter, for some reason, they don't get along with the main winners, I suppose. And unfortunately, many are men. And I don't think that's fair.
Very cool too. We've got Nanaya, Lynn, then Belinda.
Thank you, Charisma, for your submission. I mean, the music industry, like the creative sector, are a little bit different. You know, because of the potential of using a tech platform to profile your talent. in a different way? How much of your decision will be based on pay equity vis-a-vis your ability to tell stories through your art in terms of your career pathway?
I'm actually not sure. Sorry.
You're passionate about music and your creative talent. Would it make you think about a companion skill that would help you pursue your career choice? Like you make the point in your submission about male-dominated industries like tech, for example. Have you thought about what would enhance your career choice?
Maybe doing tech could be an option, but I think music is. I would really like to not be the first, but maybe, I guess, in a way, prove that we can do it, I suppose, rather than let myself fall into that stereotype of not being able to do it.
Thank you.
Belinda?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting issue. You've made me wonder. Well, first of all, I'm really interested in what sort of music you are involved in or create. But because it's led me to think about, well, which women composers or which women conductors do I know or know of? And I can probably name more women conductors than I can male. So it's sort of a double-edged sword in a way, because it gives you, by being in the minority in a male-dominated world, you actually have the potential to be better known in a way. So I don't know, that's a silly observation, but I think of Simone Young and Gemma New and others, and so I just what sort of industry, what sort of music are you involved in?
I sing in my school choir.
Yeah,
I have sung in a couple choirs earlier in my school life. I also played in my whole school's orchestra, playing violin.
Right. Right. Yeah. And so then, I mean, in the choir world as well, we have some fantastic women conductors, but yeah, as you say, they are in the minority, and it's a hard push to get to get accepted. I hear that, but keep going, because we need more of you.
Lynn, you might want to push your mute, Lynn.
I'm really sorry. Thank you, Charisma. You can see that even if women are in the minority, they're well remembered when they're in those roles. So keep up the work. And I've just got to say, it's a little bit frivolous, but you've got such a cool name for a musician, so don't change your name. And my question is not just your music mates, but your schoolmates in general. The question that Nanaya talked about, the money, and it's really good that you're determined to pursue your dream, and that's highly commendable. But do you find some of your schoolmates are influenced when they're planning their careers by the likelihood that it's going to be an underpaid profession, particularly the young woman?
Yes, I would say so. I would definitely say most schoolmates I've been around, especially women, believe that university is the only way they can go, meaning scholarship-wise, because they feel that a degree is the only way they can get a good paying job. I personally sort of fall into that little category right there. I've heard a lot of schoolmates very much just give up on their dream and more start doing a day job now and carrying on from there just to get some money in the bag, you know. So yes, I think, yes, I do see people fall into that. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Charisma, for your submission. It was great to hear about the concerns that you that are important to you, ensuring that women actually can do what they put their mind to do, and they are worth their wages in the career that they choose to be part of in their pathway. I just wanted to pick up on something earlier. Now, I know that you spoke with Rebecca. Had you, and is she, sorry, so Rebecca is taking your place next? I'm just double checking.
Yes, she is.
Perfect, she is. Right, excellent. Well, thank you so much.
She will be on this computer.
On this one?
Yes.
So are you both at school right now?
Yes.
How about that? Well, congratulations for coming on to our People Select Committee while you're in the throes of being at school. We really do appreciate your time. And Rebecca's right beside you. We will engage. Thank you.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. Welcome. Amazing, the two of you tag teaming each other coming into the People Select Committee. So we do appreciate how busy you are, and we look forward to your submission. You have 15 minutes. Please do leave some time for us to give you a question. And if we don't ask you a question, it's not because we haven't thought of one, it's because you've answered a question as you go through your oral submission. So take it away, the floor is yours.
Okay, kia ora, my name is Ripika. I'm a Year 12 student at Western Heights High School. Today I would like to talk about some concerns I have about the Equal Pay Amendment Act. As a young Māori wahine looking to pursue a career in law, which is a predominantly male-dominated industry, I have great concerns about the impact this bill will have on my future, as well as the futures of all wahine in my generation who aspire to pursue a career in a male-dominated industry. In my opinion, I believe that this bill gives the employer too much power and disempowers the employee even further. The amendments go against the entire purpose of the Equal Pay Act and breaches so many other laws in the process. For myself and future generations of wahine, I have a few recommendations. Number one, the historical claims be reconsidered as the case studies behind these claims provide valuable insight to guide future discussions on this bill, and I am sure will be helpful in many other discussions. Any further changes to this bill that will be done should be consulted by the public, as public law is supposed to reflect the need for public protection. And number three, I believe any changes that do not empower both employee and employer equally should not be included in this bill. Yes.
That's fantastic. I'm looking at Wahine Toa right now and what you can give to your peers and even your whānau members in terms of your passion and your beliefs, which are really important. I'd like to invite Joe and then Steve to give you a question. Rebecca?
Kia ora, Rebecca. Thank you for your submission. And it's great that you want to be a lawyer. And so my question's a little bit around, I suppose, process and Parliament. So do you think that it should be mandatory that all legislation like this going through Parliament should be made to have an open submission process, or just only some pieces of legislation like this one?
Yes, I believe that it should be open submission because forcing, like, if, for example, we forced this bill and people didn't agree with it, it makes sense to have other impacts or any other voices from others, for other people to have a say on whether they should pass any other bills in there.
Kia ora, thank you.
Kia ora, Rebecca. I have to declare a conflict of interest because my kids all went to Western Heights. So I'm absolutely thrilled that you're motivated enough to come forward to this committee. I'm just going to ask you, why do you think government did this in a hurry?
I believe it was for budget.
Ah, ka pai.
Rebecca, when you became aware of the Equal Pay Amendment Bill coming through the House in early May, and you've just said that you are aware that it could have been for budget that they pushed us through, what message do you think this government is sending our youth like you?
I feel like they're trying to say that money is more important than women. It feels like they're trying to prioritize money.
And do you feel that view's shared amongst your peers?
Yes, I do.
And I'm assuming that you've had lots of korero as well, with family and whānau, and within even the sports areas, and that view could be shared too?
Yeah.
Lynn?
Thank you so much for a great submission. And I've got to say, your questions and your analysis is spot on. So well done, you. I just wanted to know, this is a personal question, actually. Have you decided it's great that you want to do law? Have you decided what you want to do and eventually to specialise in, or are you still open-minded?
I think I started wanting to become a lawyer in maybe my first year of high school. I do want to be, there's so many options, but I want to be a human rights, family lawyer, or a criminal lawyer.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much. I wish you well.
Thank you.
That's amazing. We do wish you well in your journey moving forward. And like we've said to other submitters, for us, it's not over yet. We still have hearings to come. But what we want to say is thank you so much for taking part and letting us hear your voice and your strength and how you're disapproving of this pay equity bill going through. And we've taken that on board. So have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you.
And all the best for the rest of your day.
And the exams.
Yes. Now, I'm just checking, do we have Eden in the room at the moment? Eden Whare? Or perhaps Eden might have actually been in the lineup after Rebecca. Yes, I can see Eden's popped up. Kia ora, Eden. There might just be a little bit of a delay in timing with our Zoom and online mechanism. So if you're there, you are there. Kia ora, Eden. Kia ora. Welcome to the People's Select Committee. We've got 15 minutes that we'd like you to share with us your oral submission, and you can know that if we don't have questions to ask afterwards, it's because your presentation on your korero has actually answered those questions to us. We might have questions come up at the end of the day. Would it be okay for our team to contact your team with those questions and you can answer those in your own time?
Yeah, of course, that's all good.
Awesome. Right, the floor is yours.
Okay. Kia ora, everybody. Before I say anything, I just want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. This means a lot to me. So yeah, I'll start now. But kia ora, I'm also a Year 12 student at Western Heights High School, and for many years I've been looking towards the field of psychology. Basically, as long as I remember, my family is also working in the field of psychology, including my mother, my grandmother, and a few of my aunties, so quite a lot. But I do have personal concerns regarding the pay equity and how society tends to undervalue the kind of work that's mostly done by women, but not just by women in psychology, but in other workforces as well. But in the future, I want to be recognized as an equal in the workforce. I strive to build not only for my gender, but for the effort I put in for helping those in need. I want to work
in the field of psychology, as I said before, but more than that, I want to be a part of a system that values individuals based on their skills, dedication, and impact, rather than any external factors like gender. The current state of mental health in New Zealand is definitely a reminder of how crucial it is for anyone, regardless of their gender, to have access of support and care. Going on about support and care, I do want to work in therapy for just therapy. But the statistics speak for themselves. Basically, between 50% and 80% of people experience distress, trauma, or life-changing challenges in their lifetime. In such a field like that, the focus should be on the quality of the work, not who's doing it. Therefore, I reject the pay equity changes to the Equal Pay Act 2025. But here's the thing that bothers me deeply. Gender pay equity is still a significant issue. And the fact that in many sectors, including psychology and others like nursing, teaching, and early childhood education, women or people of a certain gender identities still earn less than male counterparts for the same work. And I think that's unacceptable. For the work I do, for the lives I touch, and the changes I facilitate shouldn't be measured by gender, but by the quality, compassion, and the expertise that's brought to this table. I have to say one more thing, because I've been talking for a pretty long time. I don't want to step into a profession where my value is determined by anything more than my ability to help others and the impact I have. The work I wish to do in psychology is about breaking down barriers and supporting people through the toughest moments of their lives. If we as professionals are undervalued or pay less because of our gender, how can we expect society to see the true value of mental health work? That's me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kia ora, Eden. Your oral submission's fantastic, actually. Is your kayako in the room with you, Bronwyn?
Yes, my teacher is right behind me.
Oh, great. We just want to make sure she stays there because she's next after you. But kia ora. So you have an interest in psychology, particularly in the therapy area. How does that look like to you in the future, given this government currently has not recognised the undervalued and paid work?
How does that look for me? I feel like, in a way, like even regardless of what the government thinks, I feel like even though pay is an essential thing for living, housing, food, my future basically, but what I do and what I want to work in, I do it for the well-being of others. So regardless of what it looks like, so basically actually answering your question, what that looks like, I feel like that still looks like determination to get to do what needs to be done. But yeah, I don't know if that answers the question.
No, it does. What you've just shown us and told us about is that your commitment and belief and passion for entering your professional field is so important to you, and that's where you're principled at, and that's where your morals sit, that you want to give that helping hand to many people in our country that rely on these services. So no, that was fine. We've got a question from Steve and then Lynn.
Kia ora, Eden, and thank you for your submission. Just where do you think this process went wrong? Why do you think this was even put towards Parliament, this Amendment Act?
So I basically think that this Amendment Act was put on, just as Rifeka was saying before, budget. I have talked about this along with the rest of my class. I think a few other people will be joining soon. But just on budget, but I feel like it's more than that as well. Just in terms, I'll just say budget, because I have nothing really to say about that. But yeah, I think it's budget as well. And also because I think it comes down to history as well. I also did include that. So yeah, just traditional roles for women, like caregivers, like centuries expected to stay home and raise children and care for elderly. So that's where I think Parliament just still thinks that's true, like still just expects us for that role, just to stay home, where men can work in stuff like that, even though psychology is more of a female dominant sector, that still applies for everything else. So yeah, I just think that Parliament just thinks not outside of the box, that we're still caregivers in a way, and that's what we're raised to be, and that's wrong. It's definitely wrong.
Fantastic. Lynn.
Thank you so much, Eden. We're really impressed with all of you and the other young women who have submitted, and not just your submissions, but your analysis and the way that you answer the questions. You all have, you've literally got a better handle on this,
yes,
on pay equity than the government. So well done, you. But my question is, in terms of this process that you've all been through, like the work that you've put in, and you've put a lot of work into your research and things, have you as a group found this, how have you found this? Has it been empowering? Has it sparked your interest? Has it been a good experience for you?
Definitely. I feel like so I felt like I was aware of this because of my family, you know, but being able to study that has kind of broadened in this. I'm not just speaking this about myself, but everybody else. Our classroom social science, all of us are women, accidentally, but I think we all found this very empowering, and that it just gives us that light to want to change that in the future, especially being youth, as we are. I feel like that's definitely given us motivation and definitely determination to change that in the future. So I feel like it's definitely empowering for all of us.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Eden, for submitting to the People Select Committee today. We have taken your words, and we will embed them inside of our final report back next year. Just know that you have been listened to, and what you've said to us today is very meaningful and it's very real. And we wish you all the best in your future career aspirations, and wherever that may take you into the psychology field, of course. So thank you so much. And now we're going to put your awesome teacher into the hot seat.
Thank you so much.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora, Bronwyn. How are you today?
Good, thank you.
You must be so proud to see your students sit here and deliver in their submissions to our committee today.
Oh, they did a fantastic job.
They have done a fantastic job.
Fantastic job, yes. I have lost two. I'm not quite sure where Taylor is. I'm hoping that she will appear sometime soon.
That's okay. That's no problem at all. We are very able to pivot if we need to, so that's no problem. So, like your students, you have 15 minutes to submit your submission, and it's okay if some of their questions don't get asked, because you may well have answered them in your oral submission. So the floor is yours.
Cool. So kia ora koutou. I'm not going to read out my submission. I sort of rejigged things the other day because I know I had a lot of factual stuff that I know you already know. So I've kind of gone a little bit more personal. So, yep. So as I've said in my submission, there's a large gender pay gap, which has been reduced not by much over the last 5 years. There's still all of that basic underlying inequity in society, not just within wages, but within the way people are viewed, the way women are viewed, the way lots of people who are not white males are viewed. And a lot of this I know is because of pay equity and the huge disparity between male-dominated and female-dominated careers. This inequity is a reflection of our society. Women have achieved a lot in the last 100 years in developed nations, However, there's still what people would say is an undercurrent of inequity and misogyny in our society. And we just have to look at our last female prime ministers to see that. I have worked in a lot of different places over the years, and I've found inequity in most places. When we talk about inequality between different careers, I found it in organisations such as the Human Rights Commission and Department of Conservation and Council. When you're sitting around the negotiating table for your employment contract. And so most of the jobs I had in those places were public awareness type jobs. And I found they were in the workplace, female dominated positions, especially Department of Conservation. Most of the technical support, the specialists in that were male. So when you're sitting around the table and your colleagues are saying that your area is not as important as theirs, even though you were doing the same job, you can sort of see that inequality is still rife. So when you still have inequity across society like this, you need leadership that will fight for the rights of all citizens. So it's very disappointing to have a government who is more concerned about tax breaks for wealthy than the supporting pay equity. All those 33 claims were cancelled. Were for workplaces that were either in education or caring for people. The educators helping grow and support our future adult citizens, and care workers and nurses that care for our most vulnerable. When this government talks about growth, is it growth and support for our communities, or is it about economic growth that all we can see helps the wealthy? Trickle down doesn't mean ensuring that even the wealthy pay their way. Trickle down means ensuring that even the wealthy pay their way, and given that the budget appeared to help the wealthy rather than the majority of our citizens, I do not see that trickle down happening. It was also disappointing was that the government did this under urgency and did not even let us have a say. People are struggling and the government takes economic growth, but the only people I see thriving under this government are wealthy. All of those hardworking people in roles that were predominantly seen as women's roles have been betrayed by this government. Thank you.
Kia ora, Bronwyn. Thank you for your oral submission. I think I seen a hand. Oh, my hand went up and then it disappeared. Steve, would you like to ask your question?
Actually, Rhea, I apologise, it's not a question. But when you ask yourself, Bronwyn, do you make a difference? Have you had an impact? I think that those submitters that have come today have been so impactful that you've made an enormous difference in their life. So thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Picking up on that, in students' lives, some of their most hugest role models are their teachers. And I want to say congratulations to you, because your students today have well and truly delivered about a topic that's so important to them and that can be quite impacting on their futures. So you should be really proud of them. They've done you proud.
Oh, thank you.
We've got Nanaya and Lynn.
Kia ora, Bronwyn. Thank you for your submission, and I too endorse the statements about the impact that you've had on the quality of the views that have come to our committee. What I'd like to ask you, many of them said that they're really worried about the future choices that may be impacted by decisions like this. And you all have heard all the debate kind of bubble in the class, even though we got the delivered version. In terms of how they're talking to each other as peers and how they're making decisions about career choice and, you know, whether or not they'll be valued as women, whether they're in a male-dominated career path or not. What concerns you most about how not addressing pay equity has impacted on the way that they're starting to talk about these issues?
Interesting, because I feel that they are quite strong in what they want to do. They want, you know, the lawyers and the psychologists and the musicians, and I think they are concerned. But what I have noticed that hasn't really said, oh well, we're not going to do those jobs. And I feel that, I know it's been hard talking about pay equity, but I feel that they are probably going to carry on the fight, hopefully. Yeah. And I still see that, what I don't see is them going, oh, well, we can't do that. That's like, we're going to carry on and we're going to do those, but take on those positions.
So it's strengthen their resolve.
Yeah.
And you would have heard that many of the committee members had asked, well, where to from here?
Yeah.
Have the students themselves thought about how to continue the activation of raising public awareness about, you know, what the government is doing and what needs to happen for their generation?
Yeah, we haven't really discussed where to from here, but I hope that, you know, they will become more politically active, and it's probably something we need to discuss in class, because we've done a lot of submissions, and maybe that's it. We've done the submission and thinking, right, so now it is a really good question, is that what can we do as a class or as a group to further the fight? And that's something that we will have to discuss.
And my final question, and it might be a little bit unfair, but participation in democracy, has it increased, do you think, their interest in participating in the democratic process?
Oh, they're both nodding their heads. And I know, because I've got, because it's a multi-level class, I've got a number of year 13s and they're all over 18. So they'll be able to vote in the local elections, and I know that they're all really keen to be involved. Maybe they can be politicians someday.
That's right.
Thank you for your work.
Cool, thank you.
Lynn?
Yes, thank you so much. I think many of them could be politicians, some damn good ones actually, but I think they've got their career choices and they're following them, and that's fantastic. Look, I have asked this question before, but I think by coincidence your class is young woman, but it is a co-educational school, and of course a number of boys, young men will be enter into these woman-dominated jobs, but generally, is there some awareness happening amongst the male counterparts? Do you find that even the girls doing this work, is there quite an interest? I know it's going to be a mixed reaction, but from some of the young men there as well?
Well, we do actually have 2 boys in the class, and one is actively Gabe is actively, you know, working on that. Then we have the other one who sort of, I think he comes to spend time on his phone, but I suppose in the wider community, we've got a huge array, and so we've got a really active year 13 level who are really active in the community, our head boys and girls, and I know they're really aware of those equity issues. They're sort of involved in community projects and stuff like that. So I think it's a bit of a mixed bag. I couldn't say whether we've had a lot of changes, just because it's interesting with social science. It's always, I don't know why, it just seems to be that it's always dominated by young women. I don't seem to have that many young boys in the class. So, yeah, in a wider sense, I think there's a mixed bag across the school of some who are aware of those issues and then some who are not.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bronwyn, and thank you so much for taking our questions. And just one last wee question there. Do you have Taylor with you, who is due to submit next?
Yes, no, she's popped home. Because of course she thought she was probably on later, so she may have popped home. So she may, because on our timetable we had, she might think she's going to present at 4:49, so she might be around then. Yes, unfortunately she didn't stay at school, so I'm not sure.
Okay, no, that's quite. I just thought that while you're there, maybe she might be there. Yes, I think it's been so good hearing from your students. Like every one of us has said that, and we do thank you for your time, and we also thank you for for part of that education process is allowing them to have their voices to come forward and submit in the way that they have. I'd like to reiterate that some influences like this in a situation like this can actually give our youth a destination to move into Parliament. I know that I was inspired when I was a New Zealand hairdressing president by David Cunliffe to move into Parliament, because at the time I felt that my female industry wasn't being heard. So I want to say that anything is possible, and the girls can put their mind to becoming members of Parliament, and there's definite career pathway to that. So, you know, that's a positive a feedback, I guess. Parliament is there for all representatives and all the people of its country, and your students and many others that have submitted today have indeed made us proud, and that they could be future parliamentarians. So thank you.
Cool, thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
No problem.
Yeah.
You'll be going, how do I get off here? You'll have a little button that will put leave. Ka kite. So members, we're going to take a break now and pop into the backstage room while we recalibrate our timings. And then we'll pop back into live in about, what time is it? About 6 minutes. today, we'd like to say that we've come up with a little bit of a timing issue. We had one more submitter that was to address the People Select Committee today, and what we're doing is working out a time for another day that we can hear the submitter's oral submission. I think what the committee have taken away from our youth hui today and hearing the voices of our current and future generation is that they are deeply disappointed in the profit before people that this government has shown to them. They're also worried about, because of this legislation, how they are destined to walk into their future career pathways and the butterfly impact, or if I like to say, the intergenerational impact this will have on them. And the questions that we were posed with and the answers that we received from our youth, I guess I can say that those that are watching will be both proud and humbled by the deep responses that we got back from our youth today. So on saying that, we will now close our meeting, and we want to thank you for watching today. We mostly, though, want to thank our youth submitters and their teacher as well on giving us such an in-depth and wise experience as to what their concerns are, watching how Parliament has treated the Equal Pay Amendment Bill 2025. So thank you all for your time. Ka kite.